Pokemon announced that Fire Red and Leaf Green are coming to the Switch for $20 each, and the internet is being really fucking annoying about it on both sides. Don't go on Twitter at all. I mean, that's just good advice in general, but like, if you are in like Nintendo Twitter at all, it's bad out there. So I just kind of wanted to yap about my own thoughts about all of this for a bit, so here we go. First of all, you can spend your money however you want. It's your money. You earned it. There's no ethical purchase under capitalism anyway, so who cares? Buy things that make you happy. Cool. That being said, I personally think that charging $20 for 22-year-old GBA ROMs is a little egregious. Of course, the whole question is, why were these not on NSO, which is, quite honestly, kind of the most irrelevant part of this whole discourse, but I get why they're not on NSO. Pokemon has a very particular way about how they want you to play their games. They don't want you taking advantage of save states or rewind. This was the same with the Red and Blue and Yellow re-releases on 3DS Virtual Console. So, I kind of figured that Pokemon would release these separately, and I know a lot of people are like, well, isn't that a good thing? Because now they're not locked behind a subscription service, and, now you can actually own them. And it's like, kind of, it's still a digital download, so you don't really own it. And the thing about the subscription service, right, is that most people who have a Switch have internet and play games online. So for a lot of people, them just coming to NSO would essentially just be releasing them for free, which would be great. But I understand Pokemon wants to release them separately. That's fine. I just think 20 is kind of a lot. I would say 10 would be appropriate for games this old, but sure. Honestly, I think the real dumbest thing about this is the fact that they are being released separately. So if you want to buy both games, it's gonna cost $40. And even more ridiculous is that they are also being separated by language, which means they are just kind of really taking the lazy route here and just uploading each specific ROM of the game separately on the eShop, whereas I think it would have been much better to just bundle all of them together, and, from there you can pick the version you want to play and the language you want to play, and I feel like that would have been a lot better for everyone. And yes, I think this should be for modern releases too. The two-version gimmick was a novel concept in the 90s, but now it's just clear that Pokemon is using it to sap as much money from their customers as possible. In the 3DS era, buying both versions cost $80, but now in the Switch 2 era, where the base price seems to be $70, it's going to cost $140 to buy two versions of basically the same game. What if we could just buy Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as one game for $60 and then choose which version we want to play at the start? And what if we had multiple save files for one user so we could just swap between versions whenever we felt like it? Just a thought. I think the real dumbest thing about this, though, is the fact that there is no online multiplayer. They have confirmed it is only local wireless play. There is no online play being supported, and that is just really stupid. A reason people did want these games on NSO is because NSO supports online multiplayer. So therefore, Pokemon would have online multiplayer if they were on the service. But now that they're being released separately, well, then they don't necessarily have to comply with that. And I think that's really stupid because online multiplayer would add so much value to these old games. It's especially confusing to me because these are clearly being marketed towards the adults who grew up with these games. And I guarantee you that it is more convenient for those adult fans to play online with their friends rather than playing locally. Another thing that's confusing to me is the home compatibility, which it's still kind of unclear whether or not that is actually in the game. It was on the eShop listing saying it's coming post-launch, but then that was removed, so I don't know. But a lot of people are insisting that the home compatibility alone is what makes it worth it for them, and I'm just kind of really confused by that because, all Gen 1 Pokemon have been available on Switch games and been able to be transferred to home for years now, so I'm not really seeing the value there. I think I just really underestimate how much value people have in, like, transferring Pokemon from a specific adventure to home. It's just not something that ever really appeals to me specifically, but I guess a lot more people care about that than I do. That being said, though, I think it should be really telling that this is not available at launch. There's really no excuse for it not to be. These ROMs have existed for decades, and Pokemon Home has existed since, 2018 now? They have had so much time to prepare these re-releases and then just sit on them until the 30th anniversary and release them ready to go. But they clearly didn't. And the fact that Home is apparently coming post-launch should be a bit of a red flag that this is kind of a lazy cash grab. The other thing that's important to note here is that they specifically said that they released these games because they are the ultimate versions of the original Red, Blue, and Yellow games. And while I think, Fire Red and Leaf Green certainly are the definitive Kanto experience, they're not replacements for Red, Blue, and Yellow at all. Like, those are fundamentally different games, and they still deserve to be archived and officially available for people to play. That's why this idea of, like, this Pokemon Classic collection that contained every Game Boy game, every Game Boy Color game, and every GBA game all in one collection for, like, $60 was so appealing to people, because it did have all of those games for a pretty good value. But with these releases, it seems that Pokemon is either not interested in that, or just going to continue to drip feed us re-releases of their old games at a price that is a little too high. Don't get me wrong, I think it is great that these games are being officially re-released. That is fantastic. I understand these are important, nostalgic games for a lot of people, and many people are excited to play these games again on Switch, and that's great. If you genuinely feel the need to judge someone for purchasing something that makes them happy, you should die. But also, if you are blindly defending a corporation and silencing anybody who dares to offer the slightest bit of criticism towards them, you should die. In my opinion, this would have gone over a lot smoother if this was just a single $20 purchase where you can load whichever version and game you want. With online multiplayer, the events confirmed to be included, which they still aren't, and home compatibility at launch. But that's not what it is, so I don't really care to buy it. I just played Leaf Green a couple years ago anyway and don't feel the need to go back. I suggest you just download a ROM and save yourself $20, and I don't think anyone should be shunned for suggesting that you save yourself $20, but also you shouldn't be shunned for choosing to spend $20, and if that's what you want to do, I hope you have fun. Honestly, the funniest part of this discourse is seeing people say that Fire Red and Leaf Green are some of the best Pokemon games of all time. I couldn't even finish that sentence.